curious what people think today about this story and this idea. So, our friend who we worked with for a very long time, Howard Eskin, he put out a report yesterday.
Howard.
Yes, Howard tweeted something yesterday, and he was linking up a story about a trade idea. And he was basically saying this particular trade idea that is in this article, that's not happening. But he threw this at the end of his tweet. However, this is a quote, however, I had heard A.J. Brown's name in some trade talks with the Eagles possibly moving into the top 10. So Howard's point was, trade conversations happen all the time before the draft, and Howard had heard the Eagles and whatever team, some team inside the top 10, maybe some trade talks there for the Eagles to move off of A.J. Brown for a high pick in the draft. All right, so let's use that as the backdrop of this. I saw it yesterday. I knew we would talk about it today because it's a huge potential story with the draft less than a week away. My first thought on this is I would trade A.J. Brown for a top 5 pick if Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter are on the board. If they're on the board when they get up on the draft, when the Eagles call a particular team, like if those guys slip past the first 2 or 3 picks, and let's say the Patriots are on the board at 4, we know the A.J. Brown stuff there, Vrabel, and they need a receiver. If that's a possibility, I would trade A.J. Brown. And before everyone freaks out, and I know they just won the Super Bowl, so here comes the syndrome and all that. Let me just say a couple things. Okay, let me just say a couple things. A.J. Brown's a great football player.
Yes, he is.
This isn't, I don't think A.J.'s that good, let's trade him. Like, this is not a Trey Turner thing. I think A.J.'s a wonderful football player. But, Hugh, a couple things stand out to me. One, that you look, and I've said this for a couple months, that you look at the Eagles the way they're set up with all the money on the offensive side. Mm-hmm. And at some point here, and it doesn't have to be today.
It's going to catch up with them.
And they're going to have to even it out, right?
Yes.
When they start to have to pay Jalen Carter and Quinyon and Cooper and Nolan, they're probably going to have to take someone off the offense and move the money to the defense. So this is a way to do it earlier. I think you get big value for A.J. right now. A year or two from now, he's a little older, a little more expensive. Maybe you wouldn't get as much. And I do think Carter and Hunter are great, great prospects that if you could get one of those to move off A.J., I would do it. And the last thing I'll say, and we'll say a lot today, is I think about how the Eagles won last year. They ran the football. Like, do I need two $25, $30 million a year wide receivers to run the football as much as they did? I don't think so. They were bottom of the NFL in terms of passing yards per game, towards the bottom, like 28th, 29th, whatever they were. They were towards the bottom of the NFL. They're a run-based team who won on their defense. If I could get a special prospect, still keep my first-round pick, I could draft another receiver the way you crazies want to, because now I need a receiver, or I can take Travis Hunter and play him both ways. If this is possible, I would do it, and then you have the specter of last year, Hurts, Brown, that dynamic. I don't know if those guys are in a great spot. I know they won the Super Bowl, but if this is possible, if Hunter or Carter are on the board, I'd pull the trigger. Hugh, curious to think, and this is where we do our daily long talk. And Hugh,
I was about to say we need to get this section. We need to get this segment sponsored because
long talk.
This is the long talk section of the show.
All right, what do you do? Would you trade AJ for a top 5 pick?
Can I have to tell you my thought process when I heard this, and I know that initially a lot of people aren't going to agree with what you said, Joe, because they're not thinking about it in the way I think you should be thinking about it. I look at it like this, and Howard's right. Shout out to Howard Eskin. Teams call about everybody. They do. And as a former NFL player, I know for a fact that you're always looking to upgrade your team. You're always looking to do better and get better players and evolve. And a lot of times you have to evolve and change in spite of the talent that you have. And what I mean by that is money plays a huge factor in some of the decisions that you have to make. Okay, so I set all of that up to say this, that in a short form, yes, I would trade him, but this is why. I think there's a lot of factors that go into this. You look at his production from last year and the money that he's being paid, and you're looking at it and say, okay, we were able to still be an effective team without him, not taking anything, diminishing anything from what he brought to the table or anything like that. That's not what I'm doing. Just listen to what I'm saying, people, because I know y'all probably in the cars. What the hell are you talking about, Douglas? He was on the field and we won games with him and all that stuff. Yes, we did. But I think there's another dynamic that plays into this, the locker room dynamic. Because I think back on some of the things that were said in the past. I think back on some of the things that were said by Jalen is talking about how, Saquon Barkley was the glue and how he held this team together.
Yep.
I'm also thinking of, okay, what if this conversation has if this conversation has legs because maybe, just maybe, the relationship between Jalen and AJ has deteriorated to the point where they can't coexist in the locker room.
Yep.
And the fact that the Eagles right now, they're not showing it, but they're strapped for cash a little bit.
Well, I think this offseason shows us that.
Yeah, like they're strapped for cash a little bit. And coupled with that and the fact that there's been a paradigm shift in the NFL. Like, that's the biggest thing for me, Joe. There's been a paradigm shift, and it feels like we're going to see more of that this year. I'm looking at the draft now. Ashton Genty is a guy that's probably going to be a top 10 pick. Mm-hmm. It's probably safe to say that. And you look at some of these other running backs. What is it, Skeeter?
Yeah, from Arizona State.
Yeah, he's not going to. He's not going to be he's probably not going to be a first round pick. But the point that I'm trying to make is, I think it's starting to shift to more of a running attack in the NFL. And you look at the Eagles and the fact that we have two high-paid receivers on this team, and one of them, it can't coexist with the quarterback.
Yeah.
So it makes sense. And you got to get cheaper. You got to start spreading that money around a little bit. And you got to get cheaper.
Yeah, well, let's listen to Howie Roseman. He talked about that, the financial situation and why they need young players here in Philadelphia.
We have a lot of good players that have earned their paychecks. We have others coming up through that will be in position to earn paychecks. And so we want to get as many young, talented players on this roster as we can to add competition, which is one of Coach's core values, and also because of the financial situation that we're going to have going forward in our effort to try to win another championship for the city.
Well, Howie said it there. And here, let me give you an example of when we've already seen this. I mean, we've seen a trade like this in the NFL. Hugh, remember when the Chiefs moved off of Tyreek Hill?
Yeah.
To the Miami Dolphins?
Didn't miss a beat.
Like, the idea was, Tyreek Hill was a huge part of why they won a championship with Patrick Mahomes. But they said, we're looking at the future here. How do we win the next few Super Bowls? Yeah. And they said, we got to even this thing out.
They went out and got Karlaftis.
They had their first-round picks the year after they traded Tyreek Hill were Trent McDuffie and Karlaftis. They built the backbone of their next championship team by trading away Tyreek Hill. And look, I like AJ. I'm not trading him because I don't think he's that good. This is not like I think he's overrated. No, I think he's properly rated as a top 5 to 10 receiver in the game. He's awesome. Mm-hmm. I just look at it as I think this day is coming. Someone on this offense that's here now is not going to be here 2 years from now. They're going to move money to reimagine this team. So if I could do it for a special value, which is a top 5 pick, which is maybe Carter or Hunter, I'd rather do that than 2 years from now we're like, oh, man, we got money problems. Yeah. We got to trade AJ for a third just to get off the – I don't want to be there. I'd rather do it now, jump ahead of this. And the point you bring up, Hugh, about the idea of the locker room stuff, I mean, they won the Super Bowl, which is maybe means all things were fine, but it also took Brandon Graham whistleblowing, a situation in that locker room. I mean, that was an entire day here at WIP for an entire week because of what he said about those two. There might be more to it. 215-592-9494. Would you trade A.J. Brown for a top 5 pick in the draft next week? Hugh and I are aligned on this one. We would. I think I know someone here that would not. Kyle, what are you feeling this morning? Would you trade A.J. for a top 5 pick?
So just first of all, thank goodness that it's Friday because I'm going to need a beer after the show.
Yep.
Because I'm going to have a massive headache.
A beer?
10 maybe.
You guys are out of your minds. Oh, come on now.
You want to trade our best offensive player for a guy who, let's say Abdul Carter, Travis Hunter, whatever. We don't know who any of these guys are really going to be in the NFL. They are just prospects, right? Don't give me the crap about how they won last year. I don't care how they won last year. I want to win again next year. The page is turned, right? We're not going to be able to count on Saquon Barkley to do what he did again next season, especially if you get rid of A.J. Brown, by the way, who took away some attention from a guy like Saquon Barkley. I think the defense is going to take a little bit of a step back considering all the guys that they lost there. The Eagles next year, if they want to win and be competitive, they're going to have to throw the damn ball. I know they weren't good at it last year, but they're going to be even worse at it next year if you get rid of the wide receiver who they were 16-0 with when the starting quarterback played. There's so much evidence to suggest that this Eagles offense stinks without A.J. Brown. And I know they had Saquon last year, but they went to the Super Bowl as soon as they got A.J. Brown without Saquon Barkley. He's their best offensive weapon. We already lost so much on defense, and now you want to lose. Yeah, the defense is going to get worse next year, and now you want to make the offense worse next year. Abdul Carter might be a great player, but even Jalen Carter took a couple of years to come into his own and be the guy that he was. Like, if you get rid of your best offensive player and you get a guy in the top 5 who's going to be on your defense, Abdul Carter, they're just not going to be as good of a team next year. I mean, maybe I would see like 10 wins, 9 wins next year if you let all these guys on defense go and then your best offensive player. This whole idea is absolutely insane.
So I don't think it's insane. I know you're frustrated about it. I don't think it's insane. And so you said it's about winning the next one, right? It's not about what has happened. And you're kind of talking about the point of, well, they ran their way last year. They may have to throw their way this year. Well, guess what, guys? We don't know how AJ's going to look as he ages. The guy has had knee issues. I mean, remember the postseason last year? Did we forget how invisible he was for 3 of the 4 games? And I don't think it was just because he was a decoy. He couldn't run much. 1 catch for 10 yards against the Packers. 2 catches for 14 against the Rams. That wasn't he's being triple covered. Prime AJ he had a knee issue. In the Super Bowl, he had the touchdown, and he had 3 catches for 43 yards. In 3 of the 4 playoff games, he didn't look right. Now, maybe he had a knee sprain and he's fine now, and that was just a small thing. I don't know. This guy's had knee issues a couple times in his career. I'd rather do this now. I'm telling you, they're going to do this 3 years from now anyway, or 2 years from now anyway. Someone on this offense won't be here. And if you just wait, you're not going to get much for that guy.
Why would you jump? Okay, so you're saying it might happen in 3 years. Wouldn't you rather have 3 years of your best offensive player? And I mean, like, if you end up getting 3 great years out of A.J. Brown,
maybe,
then why do I care if they end up losing him for nothing?
Because
like
you're
in
getting
3 years,
something great back.
I don't know what the Eagles are going to look like in 3 years.
Well, hold on.
I do know that they have a much better chance of winning next year with A.J. Brown on the team than no A.J. Brown and a draft pick.
Sure, but they might get something special back. I mean, these players might be special. I mean, 2 days ago, the whole city told me Howie Roseman has figured out drafting. We'll give him a top 5 pick.
Well, I don't think he has.
Well, I know you don't. So at least it's consistent. But everyone told me he's figured this out. Give him a top 5 draft pick. I mean, look, where have most of the Eagles' best players come from? Lane Johnson, Saquon Barkley, Devonta Smith. Look at Jalen Carter. They're blue chip players.
You're avoiding A.J. Brown, who they traded for.
I know. Well, but they used the first-round pick to get him. But,
yeah.
But most of the best players in this team are blue chip talents. That's what Carter is, Abdul. That's what Travis Hunter is.
What A.J. Brown is.
Well, he was, but he
is.
Yeah, no,
he's
is.
still one of the best receivers in the
Sure.
league. Like you said, we might get something special back. You know who's special? A.J. Brown.
Yeah,
he is special.
Last year, he didn't get the ball that much. I mean, let's be real. I mean, he didn't. I mean, he didn't have a special year
I
last year.
understand that, but they're going to have to change that next year.
Yeah,
he's going to have to get the ball next year.
I just think it'd be incredible value. I don't want to give away A.J. Brown. I'm not trading him away for a 2nd-round pick or 3rd-round pick. I'm not in the business of just giving away A.J. Brown. I don't think you are either. I think we both see him as a similar player. He's great.
He's a phenomenal player. It's just the economics of the situation that we're in, Joe. And I think that a lot of times people can't see that. And that's why we're here. You know, we're here to try to give you a little insight of how this thing might go.
Class is in session
today.
I'm
trying to teach y'all, man.
Professor
But
Douglas
y'all don't want to listen to what your
Aren't
brother,
you
your boy
defense is a luxury guy?
Yeah, I am. And
Hey, you want to get rid of our best offensive player?
Hold on. What if Travis Hunter said he plays both sides?
I don't even.
What if he plays both ways?
First of all, I could be like Travis Hunter. There's 0 chance. Abdul Carter, 0.1% chance.
Oh, you mean being there for the
No, I'm saying like in terms of if the Eagles had to deal A.J. Brown and it was for one of the 2 players, I would much rather be Abdul Carter than Travis Hunter.
I would take both in a heartbeat.
I think there's a lot at play here when we even have this conversation or we even consider it. And I think the number one thing that I don't think people are looking at is the growth of Jalen Hurts. Now, I don't know if everybody believes that Jalen has grown to be the quarterback that you don't need to have a whole lot of talent around you. That still remains to be seen. But think about it like this, people, and I think this is where we need to be. If this conversation is being had, think about all the parameters in this that the Eagles are dealing with. Joe Banner came out about a month ago, right? Said that the Eagles might be in a little bit more cap trouble than you think.
Yep. And,
right?
he understands that situation better than we do.
Intimately more so than any of us. He understands that. The locker room dynamic has probably deteriorated to a point where they feel like, maybe it is time to move on from A.J. Brown. I'm just hypothetically saying this. I don't know this to be true.
Well, before you go
that doesn't jive with me because they did just win the Super Bowl with whatever this locker room dynamic was.
Let's not forget one thing, though. He was upset to the point where Brandon Graham had to go on these airwaves and say these 2 need to talk in the best Eagles season of all time.
And did it ruin the season?
No, but I think you're missing this. It's going to be choppier in other years, right? They're not going to win 14 straight weeks, right? Most years are a little choppier than last year. They didn't lose a game when they were at full strength from September on. And
That's right, with A.J. Brown.
But he was still annoyed.
The two games they lost that Jalen didn't play, A.J. was out.
But like when you get insurance, it's not for when things are good, it's for when things are bad. And I think to you, I'm playing off of what Hugh's saying. If I look at it and say, this is supposed to be I'll use an analogy. We do analogies here. If you're upset on your honeymoon, what are you going to do when the rocky times hit? Right? Like, that was a special year, and we still had issues. He's still reading the book, which I know we've spun into
I'm upset on the honeymoon.
But if they're upset in their best moment. So to Hugh's point, they may say, wait a second. He was annoyed at our best season ever. What's going to happen when we hit real turbulence?
Well, okay, I got a solution to that.
What?
Throw A.J. the damn ball next year because you're going to have to.
Well, guess what? They won without throwing him the ball.
I know, but they're not going to be able to do it again.
All right, go ahead, Hugh. You're finish.
Well, it's one of those things where I think as fans we have to step back and look at, okay, realistically, why this might be a conversation.
Yes.
And that's kind of where I'm at with it. If it puts us in position to get an Abdul Carter, isn't that kind of what we wanted? Because we lost so much on the defensive side of the ball, and it puts us in a position to get generational talent to put with another generational talent that we already have.
Let's not forget, on with this conversation, we've done some mock drafts, our daily mocks, where they take a receiver at 32. We're not giving away the 32nd pick. This is A.J. for a top 10 pick, right? So they could take Carter, right, at 4, whatever. Yeah. And they could take a wide receiver at 32 to replace A.J. Brown.
Because I'm looking at this, and I don't know how many wide receivers are mocked in the first round, but the last time we did our little evaluation, I didn't see a whole lot. So there's a good chance that you could get a good a good receiver in a later round. So I think that a lot of times you just have to think outside the box just a little bit and wonder why this thing has legs, because this isn't the first time that we've heard any A.J. name associated with any type of trade. This is not the first time we've heard that. And if there's a lot of interest for him, strike while the iron's hot.
Well, I think you bring up something really interesting there with the A.J., specifically A.J., because we all realize they have a cap issue, right? We've all realized they're spending a lot on the offense. You know whose name never comes up in this? Devonta
Smith.
It's the same principle. It's you subtract a receiver to reimagine the team in a different way. That never gets brought up.
The Eagles will be a much worse offense if they trade A.J. Brown next year.
That's right.
We should be ready for that.
They'll be a different offense, but I think they'll still be effective.
They'll be worse.
But they could be a better team.
They're not going to for a rookie.
They could
on
be.
Defense.
They could be.
If we trade A.J. Brown for Abdul Carter or whatever, I guarantee you they're not going to be as good of a team next year.
Why can't Abdul Carter be Jared Verse?
Jared
Verse came here. Jared Verse came here in the playoff game and pushed Jordan Mailata around for 3 hours.
That's awesome.
Why can't Abdul Carter do that?
That's not a regular occurrence, though.
I know that.
It's very rare that draft picks come in and make an immediate impact.
Sure, but you also don't usually get a player of this ilk. I mean,
we have a player. A.J. Brown is a player of this ilk.
For now. I mean, the Chiefs traded away Tyreek Hill and haven't missed a beat.
Yeah.
They have Patrick Mahomes.
Sure,
man.
they do.
Yeah.
But
that's what I'm saying.
Needs A.J. Brown.
Right, that's why the conversation is how do you feel about Jalen? Because
I think he needs A.J. Brown.
So there it is.
Well, but also, hold on. But Patrick Mahomes has been appreciably worse without Tyreek Hill. He's won more. But look at his numbers.
You're talking about his throwing numbers, passing numbers.
Their offense has been way worse without Tyreek Hill. They win more.
But they're not winning. They're not winning without Patrick Mahomes.
Right, but
I don't care who. You can tell me that their defense is better. It is. But without Mahomes, they're not the Chiefs.
But their football team is better.
But they're not where they are without Mahomes. It's a different story.
Well, I can make the argument we're not where we are without Jalen.
I'd make an argument that we're not where we are more so because of A.J. than Jalen.
Well, I would probably say more so Jalen.
Guess what? They can win with Jalen. They have to have a big defense behind them. Like they don't win with Jalen and wide receivers. They win with Jalen and defense. That's when they win.
I'm just warning you. You take A.J. Brown away from Jalen, it's going to be a rude awakening for a lot of people.
215-592-9494. Where do you come down on the idea of trading A.J. Brown for a top 5 pick? I would do it. And I understand. And this isn't. I don't think A.J. is good. I think he's very good. I think he's an excellent player. But I think the idea of reimagining the team, adding a star-level player, if Travis Hunter, who I love, and Abdul Carter, who I love, are on the board and the Eagles could trade into a pick to acquire one of those two, I would surrender A.J. Brown to do it. Hugh would do it for a top 5 pick.
Not so much Travis Hunter, though.
You're more Carter.
Yeah. Because, I mean, I think this is my personal opinion. I think with his demands and what he wants to do, he'd be more of a problem. Then he would be more of a liability than an asset.
Yeah, I mean, who you want is the one thing, but would you do it for the top 5 pick? Kyle wouldn't, we would.